No, I don't want to piss off the NASCAR fans. Sorry, guys.
You don't want to go there. I mean, they're loyal and
R.I.P. Dale Earnhardt. That's what happens when a driver tries to make a right. Right, sorry.
I had your back. You doubted me. You thought I was going to shoot that. You really did.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Foulmouth Teachers Podcast. We've toughed this out for a little while. Congratulations. It's episode 5.
We got into 5? Oh, yeah, you did one with Jordan.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. It was just too awkward, father and son. Well,
Bill started to give up on me because I was going through the changes that we discussed in the last podcast, and I was hard to get over here. But
he's becoming a lady.
I bailed on him. I didn't ghost you though.
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I'm classy like that.
I'm not. Fuck you. If I'm going to ghost you, fuck you. And the horse you rode in on. What did my horse do? I don't give a fuck. Carried your ass.
So anyways, I'm Barrett, and this is my buddy Bill here.
Bill, sorry. I'm bitter, coming off of a little bit of a high. I won't lie. Starting to be able to feel my lips again.
Yeah.
And so
I'm not as thirsty for some reason.
These gummy bears are making me hungrier. Last time, at the very, very end, we talked about Moody ISD. And I hate this because every time I read numbers, everything's different. And I'm like obsessed with fucking numbers. I kept seeing, out of 33 students, 5 of them qualified.
38 and 5 qualified.
There were 38. So it was 33 that didn't and 5 that did. Which, and I know it's not different. I just hate when people fuck with numbers all the time.
Yeah.
Because I've seen different versions. So we talked about that. School district, Moody, north, all the way up to Waco, like of Austin, where the stupid Baylor Bears are at. And then you head east until you hit a lake. It's over there close to Lake Limestone, right?
Something like that, yeah.
That
it's just like Little River Academy, Moody, Marlin. I think it's all that little area there.
Little co-op areas. So yeah, and pretty much came to a consensus that those 5 kids should have had a fucking hell of a graduation.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
And I do feel for the 33 that didn't, because even though, and hear me out, when we
it's hard for me though.
So I like the absences. You didn't graduate because you're not coming to school and you're not doing your detention to make up your time. That's on you. Like
100%.
Or your parents, if they don't make sure you get somewhere. I get it that some people are at the mercy of someone else.
They live in Moody, bro. They can walk.
There's just a lot of outskirts out there, aren't there?
I'm sure.
I don't know.
I'm sure there's some rural kids.
And I hate saying it's Marlin ISD, not Moody ISD.
Okay, sorry, Marlin.
I hope we didn't say fucking Moody in the first.
No, we didn't
because Marlin.
Yeah, you said Marlin the whole time.
Marlin. So Marlin's over next to Moody. But yeah. So since then, they canceled the graduation for the 5 kids, and now happy story. Barrett actually passed this one on to me.
So
what's our happy ending?
The newest update is out on the story, and the Marlin superintendent was pleased to announce that they extended the deadline to reach your graduation milestones, and 100% of the graduating class is now eligible to graduate. Now, screw the kids the 5 who actually did what they were supposed to do, and their families, came in and were ready to have their party at the time they're supposed to have. Let's wait for all the ones who, and this is why I disagree with, like, my heart goes out to them. Like you say, okay, I went to a little private school. There's a little Baptist school. You had to take 4 Christian courses.
Yeah.
So each year you're supposed to take one semester. They're little half semester courses or little semester courses.
They're a little elective thing.
Well, I got through a lot of high school on charm.
Oh yeah.
and I was always pushing the limit to what I could get away with. I was one of the worst kids in my high school, but everybody liked me, so I got away with it, And so I'd push it and push it and push it, and But I remember my senior year, or no, it was the end of my junior year. My guidance counselor was like, "Well, Barrett," and she was one of the ones that liked me least. And she's like, "I've got some unfortunate news for you. You haven't taken any of your courses, your Christian courses. So, most kids, their senior year, they get freaking 3 study halls that they stack at the end of the day so that they can." Back in my day, you could go to school until lunchtime, basically, and then roll out for the day. I had to take Christian home and family and history of the Old Testament. I had to take all these extra courses. So, like, my senior year sucked as far as that was concerned because I had to take so many extra courses. But I knew it was explained to me at the beginning of the year, hey, if you don't do this, you're screwed. You're not going to graduate. The funny thing is I had to take 2 the fall semester and 2 the spring semester, and I failed one of them in the fall. So I had to take 3 like Christian-based courses the spring of my senior year. It was fucking miserable. It was the worst senior schedule ever. But anyways, it still blows my mind that those 5 kids got screwed.
Oh, for sure.
And I have very little sympathy for the other 33 kids. Sounds to me like they need to learn hard lessons and go to summer school.
And that's the thing too. Do I think they shouldn't be allowed to graduate at all? Should they have to come back the next year? No, not if there's something they can do. Like, I'm all for that. But again, you have
you missed the mark for graduation. You don't get one.
You didn't get to make it. But hey, sucks. You can either wait and graduate with the kids next year, or you finish your thing and we can go ahead and mail you your diploma, go to work, be an adult. But don't screw up in adulthood the way you screwed up at the end of high school that got you in that situation.
But it's another one of these participation trophy things. Like, hey, they need their graduation ceremony too. No, you didn't earn it. Period. Like, that drives me nuts.
And I feel like it's a little progressive compared to the way we grew up to even say they deserve to get this done in summer, because sometimes you just failed. Like, and you had to come. Like, I remember my senior year, 5 or 6 of those kids that were in the senior classes, I was like, didn't you graduate last year? Yeah, they let me walk, but they're not giving me my diploma until I finish this semester out.
Yeah.
And then they have to come 5 days a week for one class period and all that. Like, that was our life growing up. And not to say that's the perfect way. Maybe it's better that they get it out of the way in summer school. But
here's what these kids are being taught.
But you shouldn't get to walk. Like,
yeah, I mean, here's what that teaches them. Like, okay, you need to do X, Y, and Z. If you do X, Y, and Z, then you get the prize. All right. Well, I'm gonna do X. I'm gonna do Y, but fuck Z. And hey, you haven't done Z yet. And then graduation comes along. I'm like, well, you know what? Why are we moving the mark for the lowest common denominator? That's what fucking bothers me. It's like in like special forces training, they purposely make it as hard as possible because that's how you get the cream of the crop. That's what you need there.
Yeah, you have to have a cutoff. You have to have a cutoff.
Yeah, we need.
How did I get so far away from this?
We need functional adults in society.
Yeah.
And we don't need people to be coming in and then griping about minimum wage because every time that they haven't met a milestone, we just move the mark for them. And that's why we end up with a lot of the problems we have today. It drives me freaking nuts. And frankly, Bill, I think something should be done about it other than moving milestones. I think we should introduce failure. Believe it or not, it's like you either hit the mark or you grow. You did or you didn't. Yeah, I have my best qualities that I like most about myself are all products of me learning from failure.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
But it's like either you do it or you don't, and if you don't do it, you have to figure out a way to get it done. Like
Yeah.
one of the most painful things about teaching 7th graders is I failed 7th grade. I did it twice, and the first time around, like, it was bad. Second time around, like straight A's. They moved me over to honors classes. Like by the time I was in 8th grade, I was getting high school credit in 8th grade. But so like teaching 7th graders, I'm like, guys, like I know how to do this and I know how to not do it. Like, I failed 7th grade, and they're like, so what happened? I was like, man, I was so smart. They thought I was cheating, so they made me do it again. They're like, for real? No, like I didn't do my work. Like I like listen to what I'm saying. But,
well, and you know, so I was we'll call it bonus dad in a household with 2 teenagers for 5 years. The amount of leeway these students got from their teachers just blew my mind. Like, we tell her son, you know, we'll call him Bobby, hey, don't you have a test tomorrow in science? Yeah. Did you study? Yeah, I studied. And okay, my ex was a lot less. She cried a lot less than I would have had they been my kids. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, that motherfucker didn't study a lick. Yeah. But she'd believe him, and then, you know, she'd check on the grades in a couple days, and sure enough, he got a 33. And I'm like, well, good, he's going to learn, and he's going to have to bust his ass the rest of the semester. Nope, wrong again, Barrett. He's actually going to be able to retake the test as many times as he needs to achieve a passing grade. And so all it was we had to take his ass to school an hour early for the next week until he finally made a good enough grade for it to be passing. Like, how? And this was in Georgetown ISD, one of the better school districts in the area.
Yeah, it's a little more affluent.
And
is it affluent or affluent? I don't know.
You put the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Okay.
Don't
it's
do that.
Asshole disease.
I believe it's asshole disease.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Asshole disease.
Anyways, nerd humor. I guarantee you, it's easier to graduate high school in Marlin ISD than it is in Georgetown ISD, and you had to just straight say, like, 0 fucks given to not graduate from Georgetown ISD.
Yeah.
And it just, like, we are setting the bar fucking way too low.
Hey, let me ask you this. Let me back up on this. Do you think all 33 of those kids did what they think they needed to do to graduate?
Not a fucking chance.
Not a chance.
Not a chance in the world.
I'm not going to say none of them, because I think there's some that probably busted their asses because maybe they have some parents who give a shit about the way things look, just not enough to make sure they're doing their stuff. But there's no fucking way out of those 33 kids, there have to be some that legit failed because, or maybe in Marlin ISD, if you complete your work, you pass.
Let me from somebody who hadn't officially worked for a school before. Let me tell you how I think this went. You can tell me whether you think I'm right or wrong. Okay. We discussed this a little bit beforehand, so I've got a little bit of help. But Marlin superintendent realizes, oh shit, I only had 5 kids graduate, even with 38 students. That's ridiculous. And then probably got a slap on the hand from the TEA, right? Then she gathers all the staff that have to deal with the senior class and the kids who failed and everything, and was like, all right, look, we got to put on a fucking show for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, they probably had some summer school classes or whatever where they probably went in there and threw paper airplanes at each other for 4 hours a day for 3 weeks.
We're going to count this for your attendance miss and check marks for passing your classes now.
Exactly. And then at the end of it, the superintendent walked in and said, "You guys did such a great job. I'm proud to report you're all eligible to graduate." And then now we have 33 fucking idiots entering the job force.
Yeah.
Who are like, "Oh, well, if I don't get it done, it's all going to be okay."
Yeah.
These are the people applying for jobs at my shop. I up until a few months ago, I owned a CBD shop it's retail work. It's $15 an hour. I know the level of employees that I was going to get. However, it would absolutely blow my mind when, like, you could tell kids were on a job hunt and they'd walk into my store and they'd be like, "Hey, you hiring?" And I'd be like, well, we're always, open to new can. Okay, well, how do I apply? I'm like, well, send me your resume or this, and what's a resume? I'm like, okay, well, come in and whenever I'm, leave me your information and I'll get a hold of you. And I called a couple of these kids back, and I actually had a couple of them for interviews, and they showed up in freaking, flip flops and a t-shirt with probably wasn't appropriate to wear on a job interview.
It's my fucking dream job.
Dude.
Like wear flip flops and a t-shirt.
Yeah, of course, but you know what? I'm still going to the interview in at least a collared shirt.
I know.
Like,
still a fucking dream job.
Hey, do you know how to, do you know how to, like, you have to count inventory, you have to do this, you have to do that, and these kids, the looks on their face is like, you mean I got to do something other than, like sit at the register and wait on somebody to walk something up there for me? Like, I just
want to get paid to say welcome in.
That's all they wanted, dude. That's all they wanted. Luckily, I had a bunch of friends, and this was good and bad in some cases. But I knew a lot of people who needed a job here or there. I got real lucky with some of my original employees, at least one of them, anyways. And I was able to keep it open and have decent help for 5 years. But just I talked a little bit in the last episode about my store manager. Good dude. Like we bullshitted well. We had fun, we were both in the shop, but zero, like, not dynamic at all. Like, hey, I'm working a full-time job, bro. 60 to 70 hours a week. I don't have time to spend it over here. I gave him a raise. I'm like, you're going to be running the show here. I had great help from, like, the guy I'm working for now. All the time, he's trying to encourage this kid to, hey, let's do a remote appearance here, or let's do an info session at the store. I'll bring in some extra product. I'll give out samples. And the kid, he wanted to sit there and watch Star Trek. He didn't, the store was relatively clean. Nothing was ever stolen. The books always matched up to what they should be. But there was just, that's who we're putting out in the world with these low standards. It's like, you might get loyal, you might get fun to be around.
Oh, you didn't do it right? Well, come back tomorrow and we'll work on how to get it right.
He called me one day and he was like, hey, is the electric bill, is that on auto pay? And I said, excuse me? He's like, is the electric bill on auto pay? And I'm like, dude, I don't like where this conversation is going. Why do you ask? He's like, well, I got to work today and the lights were off, but the next door neighbor's wasn't, so I think it got cut off. I'm like, what are you talking about? Sure enough, he hadn't paid the electric bill.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not talking about for a couple months, for 2 years. And they just kept it going. I think it has to do with the way the electricity is unregulated in Pflugerville.
Yeah. Sometimes just having a business contract.
Yeah.
Leeway.
I got a little leeway on that, but we had a $4,000 fucking bill.
Damn.
For electricity. And I'm a small business guy, like small retail store owner, freshly off of COVID. I'm already running the business off of fucking pirate, mafia loans. Yeah. And I find out I got to pay $4,000, like, that was unbudgeted. Are you shitting me? I was taking money out of my personal account to pay payroll, and I get a $4,000 bill. And that's the type of shit that we're putting. I shouldn't say that. People aren't shit. This is the quality of worker.
Of
shit work ethic that we are putting out into the field. And I remember telling him when I first hired him, I was like, dude, I could tell he was smart. He'd been to a computer programming school. He actually designed video games for a while, and apparently he was pretty good at it. And then, this and that happened. He ended up in the Austin area, whatever. But I remember telling him when I first started working with them, and he was just a sales associate. I told him, I was like, hey, if in 5 years you're still working for me, I was like, you're fired, dude. I was like, you are way too bright to be working in the shop. For whatever. And as soon as I bumped him up to a manager, I realized, oh well, he's not managing shit. He's incapable of it. So the long and short of it is you can trust some of them to be loyal workers and do the basic task, but we're not going to get dynamic people in the workforce by constantly changing where the bar is so that they can meet requirements late or not even meet the original requirements.
Yeah. So when I was in school, and you too, like when you didn't complete that stuff, you didn't pass. You didn't get an opportunity to come in every morning during the last week to do this and this. Like you either hit the mark or you didn't. Like every once in a while, you have the teacher who was lucky to give you 1 or 2 days late with points off. And then, after 3 days, it's a 0.
And that was an awesome teacher too.
And that wasn't on a computer where they go in later and they're like, if I change these zeros to 50s, it was, a fucking grade book written in ink. Like they didn't change it after that.
You know, one thing I'm extremely, extremely glad about growing up in the generation that we did. So back in the day, I had to worry about a progress report in the mail every 3 weeks. In the mail.
Yeah.
I had to worry about a report card every 6 weeks, and then it was every 9 weeks. And other than that, it was just a phone call from the teachers. Like, parents have instant feedback these days.
Yeah.
I would have been so screwed.
These days, parents have access to a phone call to your classroom.
Oh,
like
God.
in your room. Like they have not only, and it used to be like if you had a phone in your room, it was like calling the front desk and like, I'll try their extension. Like if you're, they'll send you to a voicemail or whatever. Now, like your phone has to ring in your classroom, and like if a parent gets like, and there's directories all over the internet. I had parents who would call my classroom and ask to talk to their students.
Yeah, that's gonna be a hard no for me.
Yeah, like it's you're 100%.
Wow. Well,
accessible.
So like I lived in Onion Creek, far south Austin. It was 30 minutes to get to my high school, and my best friend. So my freshman year, my older brother and my best friend drove. I kind of rode with either one of them. So we would always coordinate every 3 weeks. One of us would make up a doctor's appointment or whatever. We knew the days that the progress reports would hit the mailboxes.
Yeah.
And somebody would either skip school or make up a fake doctor's appointment to roll out, fly home, get the progress reports out of everybody's mailbox, and then get back up to Hyde Park area, where we went to school in time for baseball practice. and these days, you can. What's the name of the? Oh, it's Blackboard. Is that what people look at grades on?
It's one of them. Blackboard, Skyward.
Skyward. That was the one that my ex's kids had, and on it we'd see a 0. We'd see a 0 on his progress report, and we'd be like, well, "Why you have zeros, dude?" I don't know. You'd be like, "Well, I got a pretty good idea. Yeah. I got a real good idea." Like if my parents, my parents were very cool about school. They knew I could pass high school. They knew I had the intelligence to do it, and it was just a matter of effort for me. If I got a 0, my life was over for the foreseeable future. And unfortunately, it got to the point at times when I did have to fear the random phone call from a teacher because they knew my parents' standard and whatnot. But if I got a 0 or if I got less than a 60 on a test, parents be like, "Did you study?" And of course, my dumb "Yeah, I studied."
Yeah.
No, the fuck you didn't. You're not stupid, Barrett. So I don't know. It's crazy to me that we have these problems even when parents can see grades almost in real time.
Yeah.
And I know there's some lag in reporting grades and everything else like that, but teachers don't put
ours updates at 5 p.m. every day.
Yeah.
Like whatever's been entered for the end of the day after 5 p.m.
Well, and
Parents can see it.
teachers don't put in an assignment that they don't already have grades for and give everybody a 0 on it.
Yeah.
Like her kid would always suggest, oh, she just hasn't recorded the grades yet. We're like, dude,
No, it
Bobby.
would show that it was missing. It would show a blank, and it wouldn't count against your grade.
Yeah, it was
Like
it was
your
bad.
your average. I used to get that all the time. I would have some students there, or their parents were like, just curious, Bobby has these 2 zeros, and he said, that you just haven't entered grades for everyone yet, so we just need to make sure that's, true, because, what he gets to do at home depends a lot on what his grades are.
Oh, so you're checking on whether I did my homework, not whether Bobby did his.
Well, and
Yeah.
usually a lot of it is Bobby said he did his homework, and he's waiting on the stupid teacher to grade it, and so then I get to say, well, if there's a 0, it's because they didn't turn it in. Usually if it's blank, that means I haven't graded it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at their grade point average, if they've got 2 100s and a blank, it's not a 67. It'll still say 100 for the average.
It's like, let me explain something to you, little naive parent.
I said, well, here's the thing. If they did turn it in, they've turned it in late. And if they're late on turning their stuff in, I'm not in a big hurry to get the grade in the grade book. So.
Yeah. Well, it's like, this little Bobby didn't do his homework.
Yeah.
Bobby lied to you about doing his homework so he could get another 6 or 7 hours of clemency before you called me, and I flat out told you, Bobby didn't do his damn homework. So it's time for you to turn this back around on your own child again.
Yeah.
Maybe parent a little bit. I don't know. I talk a lot of shit. I don't have my own kids, but I mean, still.
But you've had that experience. Like, you've got to see.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, I mean, everything is instant now.
It drove me nuts to see my ex buy his bullshit. I'm like, the kid's in his room all the time playing Madden and Grand Theft Auto. And you asked him if he studied last night? No, we heard him yelling and screaming on the headsets with his friend all night long. We had to tell him to shut up so we could actually sleep. And you just let him tell you that he studied yesterday for the test he failed, or studied 2 days ago for the test he took yesterday. We just got the grade on. Or are you stupid?
Well, and when I was in, like I told you, I don't know if we had a conversation on air or not. I failed 7th grade. Did it twice.
Mm-hmm.
Was that? Did we talk about that?
That was like 10 minutes ago.
Okay, man alive. So what I said at the very beginning, I lied. Like my second year of 7th grade, I hit this point where I had to take Texas history again. I didn't pay any attention the first time around. So the second time I took it, I'm like, the first 6 weeks, I paid a little bit of attention, took some notes. Then when we have a test coming up, we got a study guide. And I was at home, and I opened up the study guide, and I looked over it, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. And I went to school, and I got a 100 on the test. And I was like, holy shit, like, this sure beats a 40, because I didn't pay attention. Like, it took minimal studying. I honestly, even if I didn't do any of the work through the entire unit, just the study guide, if I would have gone over it 4 or 5 times, I could have gotten a passing grade. And so when kids are like, well, I studied, I did the study game, and I did it, and what you said to do, and blah, blah, blah. And then you get a 20, and I understand that there are people who have, reading, dyslexia, like retention problems, things like that. But I have some kids who, when they participate in things, like they're on their game,
Yeah,
they know what's going on. And then you get those same kids who are like, well, I studied like you told me to. You got a 20. Like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
I know you're capable of remembering. If you read something, I've seen you do it. But I know that because I did that. Like, I lived through that.
And I also believe, like, if I was a teacher, I would do my best to make it to where a big portion of a final grade would have to do with class participation, because I know that there's a lot of kids who can contribute to classroom, especially in like a history type setting, like can contribute to class discussion, get into it, ask some questions, be engaged with the lessons and stuff, but probably can't recall a lot for tests. I know there's people like that, but still, I mean, there's so many kids who go in and they dick around all day.
Yeah.
And they don't, they don't engage, they don't do anything, and then they don't do their work. I think that part of it should absolutely be, homework grades. Like, can you get a task in front of you and accomplish it and turn it in? That, that's part of life. But I like if we do a little bit of hey, I'm going to work with you guys because I know that maybe participating is the way you're going to contribute in some, some instances. We should honor that as part of their grade. But like, it's just too fucking easy these days to fail.
And it's easy to fail, but for some reason the numbers don't add up.
What I meant to say was it's far too easy for anybody to fail.
Oh, I get yeah.
Well,
and that's what I'm saying. But as easy as it is, like, it doesn't happen. So many numbers are fudged. And going back to the whole Marlin thing, I think that's what we're still on.
Yeah, I think something like that. I'm going to tell you mine, and mine's all, I don't know, conspiracy, not a conspiracy theory, just a theory, because it happens. 33 out of 38 of those kids failed. Dude, I can't do 93%.
93%.
Something like that.
Yeah, of the kids failed. All right. I'll tell you what happened. That means 93% of the voters called 100% of the school board members and got on their ass saying, if this is the way the school is going to be run, it looks like I'm going to need to run for school board, or we need to get someone else in there.
Yeah.
And so what happened is you have a pissed off town who goes to their school board, who probably backed this up in the very beginning, and then they can convince them that they should probably change their mind and go a different route. And I think a lot of it was political, and they're like, yeah, just do whatever the fuck you have to do, make them show up and fucking watch Dora the Explorer. Hey, you got your Spanish credit, and so, like, when I was in school,
got your Spanish credit.
Those people who didn't do that stuff, like, we looked at it negative of, oh, it looks like they're going to be a ditch digger, they're going to be working and all that, and
they did that.
man, where was I?
I'm lost.
Oh yeah, all right, so.
Oh yeah.
You need to go through?
The world needs ditch diggers too.
Yeah, and so, so like at the end of the year, graduation and all that, you had like a program or even announcements of, here's, Joey Johnson, and a lot of them, he'll be attending this, and then you have those kids, he'll be entering the workforce upon graduation, and you're like, oh, that kid's not going to college, he's a loser, and I'm not saying that, I didn't even think that, but like, that was a lot of the mentality. Oh, she's entering the workforce. Oh, I heard she's pregnant, so she can't go to college.
Yeah.
Like it's dumb shit where we put this stigma on everything was college ready. If you're going to college, the expectation you're going to college. If you don't go to college, you failed. If you don't do this, you failed. And so it was this like false American dream.
Absolutely.
Of, this is the only way to be successful.
Absolutely.
So you can speak 100% to this.
I saw one of my favorite things I've seen on Facebook in a while, just the other day. There was some school district in Texas, and they took like four or five kids who were going into trades, and they did a national signing day with the companies that they were starting to work on, just like they were athletes going on a college scholarship.
See, that's awesome.
It was awesome.
And I've seen schools do stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, I think we've reached a point where it's got to be more acceptable.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to Texas State University. I'm going to, I don't know if they're, I'm going to ITT Tech for, I'm going to learn how to work on circuit boards, stuff like that. And you're like, oh, he's going to like nerdy dropout school. And,
that's what we thought back in the day, though.
Yeah. We kind of, like, there was this stigma of they're not smart enough to do this. And we can both attest to that. We're still going to college in our 30s. Like, it took us 30 years, double our fucking childhood lives.
Yeah.
You know, another, you know, it's 18 years of screwing around in school, and then 18 years later, like, shit, I'm finally figuring out what I want to do.
Yeah. And the funny thing is
then
when
we don't want to do it anymore.
yeah. So I am like I think 15 hours away from a degree in education. I'm like less than 20 away from a degree in history, less than 20 away from a degree in English, and I've got no degree.
Fucking Van Wilder.
Oh, dude. Well, I made multiple. College wasn't for me, dude.
No,
it was not for me. I grew up in an upper middle class home. My dad was a lobbyist for AT&T and then for another cow fucker. We were in the. He worked for AT&T for 20 something years. Then he worked as an independent lobbyist for a while for a firm, and it was my whole life. Everybody was like, "Oh, you're gonna be a great lobbyist. You're just like your dad. You're just like your dad." And that's what I always said I wanted to do. I want to play baseball in high school. I want to play baseball in college. And when I'm done with that, as soon as my baseball career is over with, I want to be a lobbyist, just like Dad. And it always seemed like a cool job too.
Yeah.
Dad got tickets to all the cool shit growing up. We had season tickets to Longhorn baseball, basketball, and football. When WWE was in town, we got tickets to. We had tickets to everything. It was amazing. And I was like, you know, and we had nice shit. We didn't want anything. We didn't want for anything. You know, we grew up in a very privileged, very blessed household. So like that's where my mind was. Hey, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do what Dad does. I get into college and I start really understanding politics and the way things are going, and I'm like, well, wait, I don't want to be a lobbyist anymore. And then, you know, everything that I had thought was going to be my life went out the window at that point. So I piddled around on and off for 4 years and only got an associate's in English. And you know, I would go into sales in a field, and then I want to go back to college. Like I never had the discipline until after I got out of the military to go to school, go to college, get my work done, and you know, it was not for me. I wish that the day I graduated high school, well, the week after, because I did some great partying that first couple weeks, I wish that I had either gone to a trade school or just started working as an apprentice somewhere. Because, like, my buddy Roy's a few years older than me, probably 44, 45. He worked as an electrician. I don't think he ever even attempted college.
Great work.
Yeah, and he worked for somebody else, you know, a few different companies for 10, 15 years, and then he finally realized, hey, I don't want to work for anybody else anymore. And he made an investment in himself. He took a leap of faith, and you know, now he's got a very, very great company here in Round Rock, Texas. Dynamic Electric, for anybody who's looking for a good residential electrician. He even does some commercial stuff. And you know, I remember when he first started it, and he had 1 or 2 trucks, and like I think he's got 9 or 12 now, and it just keeps growing and growing. He does awesome stuff for his employees. Like he has at least once a quarter, he has a very cool get together. Sometimes it's just like a party at the shop. They'll get a bouncy house for the kids. They'll grill out. They'll have, you know, beer and everything else there, like, you know, and food. And they had a fish fry in the spring. Sometimes they'll go to the coast and go fishing with just the guys, you know, like. And by all of the standards that I was raised by and that was shoved down our throats, you know, as high school kids in the 90s, he was a failure. He was a failure, never going to amount to anything, because he didn't go to school. And like I know for a fact, if the only acceptable professional career that my parents would have thought of for me to skip college for would have been to play baseball.
Yeah.
And that would have been okay. But other than that, like
You're going.
you're going.
So I always thought that if you look at like today, you know, like kids know, hey, you know, you can go get a 2-year and you can get this, and like it's a little more acceptable. Like you look at these people that are making money, and they're doing it without college degrees. I think
Yeah.
the internet, just access to the internet's
Yeah.
made that like less of a stigma. And so I just kind of assumed that, you know, that's the way things were. And so 2 weeks ago, my younger son Jordan graduated from high school. I honestly don't know how he did, but he made it all the way. He's in the room here, so I'm giving him a shit.
Yeah, that's exactly why I immediately balked as soon as I was talking about the first week or two after
Yeah.
graduation. I did
That's
some great
all right.
partying. Don't be like your dad's friend Barrett, Jordan.
So, but so at his graduation, I saw two kids that I actually coached whenever I was working in Granger, and one of them graduated. One of them, if you can spell graduate, you get a fucking diploma in Marlin, Texas.
All I know is there's a J in it. There's a J and a W in it.
So one graduated last year, one graduated 2 years ago, and both of them, in one way or another, I asked them, so what are you up to? How's it going? And they basically answered with, you know, I messed up and I didn't go to college, so, you know, I'm just working now. And then so I'm like, what are you doing? One was like, oh, you know, I'm working construction with my uncle and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. Man, don't say you
Not
messed
for
up.
one
Don't
second.
say you, like
Not
you're
for one
learning
second.
a trade.
Yeah.
And the other one was like the same thing. Like, or, you know, it was, oh, you know, I've got a little lawn mowing business, you know, I'm doing that. That's a great start. Like, that's ambition. Like, that's, who cares? You know, if that's not in the cards for you, you know, whatever. Like, my oldest, Thomas, he graduated, like, he was, like, I think top 5 in his class, and he didn't go to college. He decided he wanted to go be a plumber's apprentice.
Yeah.
And now he's making more money than I was making as a teacher. Like, it's like there's more out there. And I mean, you can
absolutely
really attest
well.
to this.
I mean, like I've been in I wasn't until a month ago. I've been in commercial construction for 3 years, and I've been in and out of that industry my entire adult life. And like, there's a kid that started showing up at my job sites. He actually worked for. So we did demo, drywall, framing, stuff like that, and we had our own company under our umbrella that did it. And this kid worked for that company. And so we were a little bit closer with that particular sub because technically it was part of our company and whatnot. So he was on every one of my jobs. He's 19 years old. He graduated from Lockhart. And this kid was on the job site 6 days a week, bust his butt, you know, and he's doing drywall and framing. It's not rocket science, but it's a necessary skill. It will always be needed. And I would always tell him, I'm like, you know, and he's bilingual too. And when I'd see him screwing off, I was always harder on him. And one day he's like, Barry, why are you always messing with me? I'm like, well, because I wish I was you. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, you're the boss. You know, you're the boss of the job site. I'm like, dude, you're 18 years old. You're learning a trade. You're making money. I was like, you're bilingual. It's like, you follow these guys, you know, you learn from these guys that have been doing it for, you know, 10, 12 years, and you learn how to learn all their tricks by the time you're 20, 21. You'll be their boss.
Yeah.
You won't be hammering drywall in. You'll be the guy on the phone like me. You'll be the guy talking to me. And all these guys are going to be sweating their asses off making you money and grateful to you as you pay them to do all the hard work for you. And he's like, yeah. The funny thing is, a couple weeks later, and this kid worked. He lived with his parents, didn't have any bills. He's like, I'm going to buy myself a car. I was like, what are you going to buy yourself? He's like, I found this old Supra. And I'm like, what? And he shows me this old, like, 15, 20-year-old Supra, and it's got a giant tailpipe on it and a fucking goofy-ass spoiler on the back. I'm like...
And a dragon painted on the hood?
Something like it. Like it might have, or a flame or something. Who knows? And I'm like, why the fuck would you buy that? And he's like, huh? I go, dude, go buy a truck. I was like, go buy a truck, and then you get yourself to work. I was like, you're not throwing any tools in that Supra, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, you can't catch any side jobs, you know, building somebody a deck on the weekend with that Supra. I was like, get you a truck. And then once you have that truck, pay that sumbitch off. And then guess what? You're a business owner. He goes, what? I was like, in construction, owning trucks equals owning a business. Because then you know what you get to do? You get your own truck, or you get a new truck, you hand that one down to one of your employees, you go find work for him, and then all of a sudden, he's working for you, and you're taking a cut, you're making money off what you do and what he does. He's like, oh, yeah. This little shit goes out and buys a $45,000 Chevy Silverado with a $900 a month payment on it. I'm like, dude.
You can't afford to buy plywood to get started on a job.
I'm like, what's your payment, Georgie? He's like, it's $972, and it's not that bad because that's like one of my paychecks, so I get my whole other paycheck to do what I want with. I'm like, God damn.
Oh shit!
I was like,
you could have bought a house.
I was like, dude, oh, you missed it on that one, dude. I go, all right, here's what you need to do. You need to take half of your other fucking paycheck, and you need to put that on that car. I was like, how many years is the note? He's like 7. like it's thumbs up 7. I'm like, oh Jesus, you just got financed at 14% for 7 fucking years.
Poor child.
You're gonna pay $180,000 for that truck. I'm like, anyways, but I kind of explained to him. I was like, start paying that off, paying that down. I was like, and then get it refinanced so that you can get it paid off. I was like, luckily it's a brand new truck, pretty much, so there's some life in it. You might be able to parlay that into a victory, but other than that, you're just gonna look kind of cool when you're driving
or live in it.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
shit.
It breaks my heart that going into trades was so frowned upon in my world growing up, because I know like my skills, what I bring to the table is kind of like I'm good socially, so like I'm good in sales, I'm good in stuff like that, and my work ethic, you know. But when it comes to putting a pen to paper, that was never my thing. Like I learned a lot as I got older and matured and everything, and learned some work ethic. But some work ethic in that area. But like I wasn't a school person, man. I like to go to the job, and I like to bust my ass at it, and then I like to walk away. And there's a lot of people just like me. And if you get into the trades, that's what you do, dude. Especially as a worker at 18 years old. You're not worried about the management. You're not worried about the bottom line. You're not worried about man hours. You go there, you bust your butt, you do your job for 8-10 hours, and you go. And that kind of experience is invaluable to an 18-year-old.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And a perceptive. There are people in this world. I've worked with plenty of them who are never going to be management type. They're always going to be workers. But at least by the time that they're 38 years, or 35, 34, 35 years old, they're going to be a master. They're going to be worth $35-$40 an hour.
Yeah.
And for some people, that's for a lot of people, that's beautiful. And then some of them are gonna learn how to run a business as they're doing. They're gonna ask their boss questions and stuff like that. And but either way, it beats the shit out of taking on $100,000 of debt, going in and working in a job that has nothing to do with your degree that you have no love for.
It's like you talking about the woman who had the badges, started at janitor and finished at top of the food chain.
Yeah.
And I bet at some point she thought, man, I'm only a janitor.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be doing more. I failed because I didn't go to school.
I was a failure. I literally felt like an epic failure in my life. I enlisted at 26 years old. 26 years old. And I felt like an epic failure right up to that point. Because, I was great at sales. I can sell anything. I've got a completely, I do not hard sell. I do not steer the conversation. Like I'll never teach a seminar on sales because I don't do it the traditional way. I'm a former relationship, make you like me type of guy, and then ask if you want it. If you don't, then I leave you alone, and I hope that you appreciate that about me.
Yeah.
And it works well for me. But I had a groove in sales.
I was like that with relationships.
Yeah. I had a groove in sales, and I would a lot of times be the top salesperson in whatever I was selling at the time, but I never had the discipline to parlay that into a management position or something like that. So I'd eventually fizzle out of everything. I didn't have my college degree. I had attempted it 4 or 5 times before that, and like I felt like a failure because I didn't go to school, and it's unfortunate. Like that had devastating effects on my life, man. Like it had devastating effects on my own psyche. It wasn't until like intense therapy a few years after I got out of the military, a lot of years after I got out of the military, to really start not beating myself up over, missing out on what I thought my hopes and dreams were when I was 16, 17 years old.
Yeah.
And we're cramming that down kids' throats.
So I hope that it's not like, and I mean, you have those traditional households where people are just like that, and I get that. I mean, it's learned behavior, but I feel like our schools aren't teaching that way anymore. So it just really, really surprised me to see, have these two guys reply to me like that. And one of them, I know, like his dad and grandpa are like construction guys and all that. So it was disappointing, and I feel it's a cultural thing of, parents want them to get a better education and do better things. Sure. And, I mean, you can turn back to that parent and be like, dude, you worked hard, you raised us, you got us here. We didn't die, we didn't starve. And so, why would you consider that a failure?
Like I don't have kids. We've said this multiple times. I've been in a home where I was bonus dad. But like, I think if I had kids, my maxim for them would be like, find something you'll work hard at and make sure it makes you happy. You know what I'm saying? Like get fulfillment out of your job other than a paycheck and bust your ass at it. I don't care what you do. I don't care what you do. Maybe don't be a drug dealer.
Yeah, do it legally. Do it where I don't have to hide you and get in my own trouble.
Yeah. Don't do anything that's going to embarrass your mom. OnlyFans is a gray area. We're gonna.
That's my next step. Like after education, I was going to do OnlyFans. Feet and buttholes.
I was about to say you got some sexy feet. I can't speak to your butthole, but I'll ask Rosie.
I've got that bidet. I mean,
you do have the bidet. That's right.
Yeah, it's clean. So, coming soon, my OnlyFans, feet and buttholes.
Oh God, there's a.
I'd really have to question subscribers on that one.
As long as they were sending me a check, I would have zero questions. I'd just be like, all right, cool.
As long as like it wasn't like, is that my mom?
Yeah.
Just making sure you're cleaning.
Is that my mom's best friend? I never knew.
Oh, only 30 years earlier. Just kidding. I didn't say that out loud. You know what I think would be really fun to ride?
No, but I bet you're about to tell me.
Is a Segway. And that's what I'm going to use to get to our next topic.
Oh, dude. That's weak, but I'm going to go with it. Go ahead.
It was all right. I want to go over like genders and names and things like that.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm steering this kind of back to education just because it's the generations coming up. I'm very, very like, especially when it comes to social issues and just people in general, I'm very non-political. And so like, when you look at both sides of this, it's extreme one way, extreme the other. And it's like, I've reached a point in my life where you don't have to believe in what someone believes in, but and you're more than capable of still just being a nice, respectful person to them.
Yeah,
you don't
absolutely.
have to be like, I mean, I'm not even going to take a stance on this because
here's my stance. I'll just go ahead and I'll put it out there. Here's the thing. I've never felt uncomfortable in my own body that way.
Yeah. I
don't know what that feels like.
So you can't relate.
I can't relate to it. Do I think that I don't want anybody to feel like I've felt uncomfortable in my own body in a completely different way. I didn't like myself at times, and it was the worst feeling in the world. I don't wish it on anybody. And if making an appearance change or whatever makes you feel better about yourself, you know what? It's not going to bother me. Don't make me play your games though. If I accidentally say yes, ma'am, and you want to be called sir, be like, oh, go ahead and correct me. That's fine.
Be nice about it.
But be nice about it.
And I'll be nice right back.
Absolutely. I'm not going to judge you. I don't understand it. It still blows my mind that you want to be something other than you biologically are. But I can be cool about it.
Yeah. But you know what? You can 100% disagree, and still, if Bob wants to be Sue, all right, Sue.
Yeah, I can handle it. Like, absolutely.
Because you know what? And I'll just say, in my mind, 100%. If I don't agree with that, I don't even have to say that. All I did was I was nice, and I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Like,
I gave you what you wanted, and I can think what I want.
I-
and I'm not saying that's proper in every situation, but it's one of those. Or if I'm like, hey, Bob, and you're like, it's Sue now. You know what? I'm sorry. You've told me
Yeah.
before. It is Sue.
yeah,
You're right.
my bad. But like, the people that get all fucking indignant about it drives me nuts. Like, I can't, I can't play that game. I'm sorry. Like, I want you to be happy. I want you to feel comfortable in your own skin. I'm sorry if I use the wrong pronoun or if I use gendered language. But I hate to break it to you, but that's normal. That's what the normal world does. We use gendered language. Somebody who looks like a male, we use male pronouns. And
if you really want to talk about feelings and stuff, like the way people feel about that, I've actually had somebody want me to call them it.
yeah,
And all that, and like that makes me feel uncomfortable. Like referring to someone as an inanimate object, and so like I feel like I'm degrading you, and I mean at some point
Exactly.
eventually you just kind of get there just to be like, all right, well, how is it doing today? Or at some point when you've villainized people for not being the way you want them to be, they just don't talk to you at all.
Yeah.
Like they'll avoid you to just not even have an uncomfortable situation.
yeah. And I'll take it into the more controversial space that people are talking about these days. And you kind of touched on it, that it's showing up in high schools and stuff like that. Like, when I was in high school, when I was a teenager, when I was well into my 20s, I had zero clue about what my identity as a human being ultimately would be. Let's before we start encouraging kids to label themselves one way or another, let them get out into the world a little bit and kind of feel themselves out. I remember high school, my emotions being all over the place. I remember getting overly excited about things that weren't a big deal and being numb to things that were. And we're figuring out the world. There was times when things upset me that were, I thought it was the end of the fucking world. A breakup with a girl I'd been with for 2 months in high school, or something. Losing a baseball game. The little stuff like that was just the end of the fucking world. Because that was all my experience up to that point. And now we're going to let kids make permanent decisions about their identity and their biology and altering their biology at an age where their frontal lobe isn't even fully developed.
Yeah.
I want everybody to, I don't want a kid who's openly gay in high school to be harassed, I want them to be loved like any one of their peers. And I don't think that they should have to hide what they feel their sexuality is there at the time. But let's not. You have to tiptoe so much around this.
Yeah.
Let's
It's okay to be straight as long as you're not gay in public.
finally somebody said
Yeah.
it. Now,
Thank God.
let's make
Just
sure
kidding.
that we're not let's not put a lot of focus on sexuality in teenagers. It's talked about way too much. I think that a good sex education in that 8th grade, maybe in freshman year, is probably needs to happen. I think that it should be acknowledged that there's more than heterosexual couples out there.
Yeah.
And then let's move along, and then let's let kids live some life and figure out what's going on with them.
Yeah. Well, and so even in middle school, because a lot of these kids, I think they're mimicking what they see. Like they don't really feel this way. It's like, cool, this person's getting a lot of attention. I want attention too, so
Absolutely.
I want to do this. And you know what you do to those kids? You just humor them. Mm-hmm. Don't give them that attention they're looking for. And so one situation I have, a student who's listed as a female who has very sweet name, very sweet girl, super awesome kid, one of my favorite students, wants to go by a different name. It's a boy's name. could be, I don't know, boy, girl name, but never directly asked me to call her him, but asked to go by another name. Cool. Not a problem. Good kid, respectful kid.
Yeah.
I'm going to call you, Billy, I'll say, because that's mostly a boy name, but could go either way, right?
Yeah.
I'll call you Billy because that's what you want me to call you. And then we have a meeting, a faculty meeting, where they tell us, if you have a kid that wants to go by an opposite gendered name, you need to report it to the counselor. And so they wanted us to talk to report to the counselor, send an email, and then the counselor is going to talk to the student. And that was the vetting process to make sure, that this kid's not going to get beat up at home or anything for that.
Yeah.
And then they want to make sure it's safe to be able to call their parents.
Yeah.
And so when they do call the parents, then the parents get to confirm, yes, they can go by this, or no, they can't go by this. Which, I guess, I'd be a lot cooler with you making those decisions if you also kept up with their grades and stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to, it's a dead horse to beat. But who cares? My name's William. So the counselors have to tell you that you have, their parents' permission to call them by the name they want to go by. My name's William. I go by Bill, went by Bill. Not one time did I have a fucking teacher or counselor have to go, well, Bill's not his given name, it's William. Is it okay if we call him Bill or Billy in school? Are you okay if he writes Bill on his papers to bring home? We didn't have that. They just kind of told us. And so this female student who wants to be known as a male and go by, well, like I said, she never told me she wanted to be a he, but other students I've heard them calling this person he, and I've heard that, she wants to go by he. Never told me that, so I stuck with she, her, whatever. And really, in a conversation, it's very rare that you even have to say he, him, she, or her. You're like, hey, so-and-so did this, does anyone else think? It's rare that you need to even make that, even as a teacher. But Mom said, no, that's not her name. She needs to go by this. Only situation I had that was like that.
Yeah.
And so I actually did something I could probably get fired for because it goes against policy. I called, what are we saying? Billy, wanted to go by Billy. Billy, your mom told me that I'm supposed to call you Tiffany.
Yeah.
It's another made-up name. Name is not Tiffany. Your mom told me I'm supposed to call you Tiffany. Whenever you write your name on things that go in writing, it needs to be Tiffany. Whenever I call home, if I ever have to call home, I'm going to say, hey, this is Mr. Rhodes, Tiffany, social studies teacher. In class, whenever you walk in, I'm going to tell you, hey, Billy, how's it going? And so just to give the kid that respect of, I don't know, you didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing. So that's where you kind of ride the fence a little bit. You don't really pick one way or the other, because all I did was I was nice to this person who was respectful and being nice. I didn't do anything to enable them. I didn't do anything to, I'm not breaking any wishes or rules or anything. I'm calling a person the name they asked me to call them. When I was in Granger, a couple years.
Hold on, before you move on to the next story, let me ask you a question. On a good week, how many hours a week do you work as a teacher? 50, 60?
Yeah, 50.
Okay. And you're that enough to where any extra hour you can get here with your kids and your wife is gold.
Yeah, definitely.
Correct. How much time did you spend sending emails, talking to the counselor, talking to the AP, talking to the mom, talking to the kid about a kid changing their name to an opposite gender name? How many hours did you spend? An hour or two?
Yeah, and not just me, but imagine what the counselor goes through with this.
God.
I've got a contact
that's
to talk
partly
to.
the counselor's job. Your job is to teach the kids.
Yeah.
You're struggling for I've known you for 10 years. I've seen your kids grow up online. I've seen how much you have to struggle to get an hour fishing with Jordan over here, or go to ball games or whatever, and you're having to spend time writing emails about what a kid wants to be called.
Yeah.
When it could be as easy as like, hey, I go by Tiffany. Cool, Tiffany. It could be that easy. You know, like.
But the fact that we're instructed to do this and all that, I don't care. But like I was saying, when I was in Granger, it was, I think he graduated before Thomas was in high school. The kids know him. His name, I don't know how you say it. Montaye or Eye. I think he goes
Monte.
Monte. I think he goes by Monte. Like that's his birth name. Goes by Bubba. Big black kid.
Yeah.
Went to Granger, hung out, and they called him Bubba. And at the same time when I was in Granger, there's another girl who she wanted to go by a boy's name, and they're like, absolutely, and not even the parents. The parents were okay with this. The parents supported their child, and the school district's like, that's not her name. That's not her name. Monte's fucking name isn't Bubba, and you're perfectly okay with grading his papers and putting him on his report card when it says Bubba. That's not his name. Call somebody what they want to be called. Who cares?
Yeah, I don't know. And let's not waste time on it. Like, the teachers and administrators and counselors' time is precious. Like, what? And we have to walk around on eggshells over things like this, and it's just a waste of time. I don't know. It bothers me.
Well, and so people get so vigilant. So my daughter went to 7th and 8th grade at the middle school I was teaching at. And so like she got to, a lot of the teachers that I work with were my daughter's teacher. And so I'm having a conversation with the theater teacher just about a play that my daughter was in, good conversation. And another teacher walks, she's like, oh, are you talking? So my daughter's name, her name is Amber Ray. We call her Amber at home. She wanted to go by Ray at school because that's something kids do. That's what she decided. That's her identity. Cool. I still call her Amber because I've always called her Amber, and she's literally never asked me to call her Ray. I'm chatting with the theater arts teacher, and this other teacher walks up. Oh, are you talking about Ray? I was like, oh yeah, and blah 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 blah. And then Amber said, and she goes, let me stop you right there. I would feel a little more comfortable if you would call her Ray.
Oh God.
I was like, do what? She's like, so she prefers to be called Ray. I was like, she only goes by Ray at school, like at home and all that. We call her Amber, but I just know her as Ray. And instead of arguing it all, I turned around and I walked away without saying another word.
You're a better man than me, dude. You're a better man than me. I would have.
like, you know what? If you're uncomfortable with this conversation, I'll leave. It's over.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I appreciate where this teacher's heart was at. She's talking to the kids' parents.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've got something worked out.
The extra vigilant stuff, just the unnecessary stuff.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you got kids at school who are, he goes by RJ, and that after a while, you forget what their first name is, and you're like, RJ. When their mom comes up, it's like, oh, Robert James, he's got a blah blah blah. No, ma'am, it's RJ. He prefers to be called RJ. Please don't call him Robert James anymore.
Yeah,
that's his mom. Shut up.
So my name's Barrett. In the house, my entire life growing up, it was Barrett. My parents called me Barrett unless I was in trouble. Close friends picked up on it. Girlfriends in high school picked up on it. My little sister always called me Bear, and I've always been Bear. And as I've gotten older, I've embraced it a little more. I kind of like being Bear, but you got to be, especially in Texas, you got to be careful about walking up to another grown man and introducing yourself as Bear, because you're either going to get one of three reactions. People will be like, all right, what's up, Bear? Good to meet you. That's the majority of the time. Or you're going to get the old, Bear, huh? You're like, I'm not calling another grown man Bear. Yeah. I'll get that one every now and then then I'll also be like, oh, Bear. So especially in the Central Texas, Austin area. So
sounds intriguing. Tell me more, Bear.
I gotta be careful with that one. But it's so my best friend growing up, his name was Darren Craig Fuller. Went by Craig his entire life. As we graduated high school, got into college and everything, and he had a kind of a personal realization about where he was at in his life and the things that, and he decided to finish school in New York. He went to St. John's. And he kind of needed a clean slate. There's a lot going on in his life at the time. I was actually upset with him for leaving because I didn't understand why my best friend's just rolling out, moving to the East Coast for no reason. And he went up there and he started going by his real first name, Darren. So and he's lived up there almost ever since. They moved back for a short while and then moved back up to the East Coast. They live in Maine now, but everybody up there calls him Darren. His in-laws call him Darren. His wife calls him Darren, and it's just like I go up there and I call him Craig, and people are like, "Who is Craig?" And I'm like, but I mean, I understand the, changing it up a little bit. Like that was, I asked him about it one time. We're on mushrooms, but because that's the perfect time to ask somebody about something so important. And I was like, he's like, dude, I needed to change. I needed everything to change. Like, I get that, man. And it doesn't have to be necessarily associated with sexuality. Like,
yeah.
I just quit a career. I jumped back into an industry that may or may not be able to support me here soon. I'm going through a change, a metamorphosis. Like, so there might, I get it. I understand sometimes people need to change things completely up, and if it's the way people address you, cool, I get it.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, nickname. I guess there's a difference between nicknames and then.
Yeah, trying to change your person. I don't know.
Yeah.
But either way, it doesn't mean anything different to me. I prefer to be called this. Cool, that's what I'm calling you.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of the time you don't even question it. I had girls want to be called Kevin, and in the entire time that I've been a teacher, I honestly never had a boy want to be called a girl's name or be addressed as a female. And but I think that like masculine, growing up and all that makes that a little bit different.
Yeah.
There's more of a stigma on.
I wonder if it's
younger.
a regional thing too. Like
Yeah.
because now I'm thinking about it, like of whether it was my personal peers or like my friends' kids or kids I met through teaching and coaching and stuff like that. It seems like the majority of it is female students want to be called by male names. I wonder if that's different, in the Northeast or
and so
Northwest or something.
a lot of the time, honestly, I'll say this with girls. I honestly think something happened to a girl that's making her want to desexualize herself. And I could be wrong. It's a theory. I'm not a counselor. I'm not an expert on this. I don't know, but I think that could be a contributing factor.
Sure.
In some cases, and I don't even want to talk about that. It's super depressing.
Well, we have navigated some very murky waters in this particular episode. I think we've done it quite well. I think we crossed the shark-ridden river. Maybe it's time for another segue joke.
Yeah. Well, and I'll finish all of this up with. I didn't always grow up as progressive.
Yeah.
Tolerant. I don't want to say tolerant because it's not intolerant. I mean, we're all a little closed-minded.
I look at memories from 5 years ago, 8 years ago from Facebook and shit that I posted. And I'm like, who is this fucking guy?
Cringe a little bit. Yeah. And what I finally did was I kind of grew up and realized that it's not hurting me. It doesn't affect me.
Dude, it doesn't.
And I'm not going to say I disagree with everything. I'm not going to say I agree with everything else. But if it doesn't bother me and if it makes somebody else feel better about themselves, by all means,
Yeah, and here's another thing. Like, people are like, well, what about my kids? What about my kids? Well, if you are the moral compass of your children, and that's a definite moral issue with you, and like I understand that it is for some people, and you're doing a good job parenting, and you've got that communication with your kids, then I think that you'll very likely avoid what's in their opinion, these worst case scenarios.
Yeah,
like
the situation.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you said, the moral compass. Your kid's either doing this to spite you or to get your attention. Like it's either because they've disconnected from you or they want a connection.
Well, like when
and so you either messed up or you're in the process of messing up.
Well, like I've got a friend of a friend. We're friends online. Dude's he's a Marine. He's Mr. Trump this, Trump that, and big Trump guy, big conservative, and Mr. Loudmouth, outspoken online, whatever, And when the whole Bud Light Dylan Mulvaney thing came out, I kind of posted something effective like, "Hey, I don't give a shit. I really don't. Like, I don't like Bud Light anyways. If you really want to dig into it, every single beer company, major beer brand in America has sponsored some sort of pride, advertising campaign. Maybe the whole Dylan Mulvaney took it another step, whatever. But the bottom line is, I don't give a shit. Like if that person, if the marketing person thought that they'd sell more Bud Light, clearly it backfired, whatever. And anyways, this fucking clown sends me a fucking direct message. It was like, how can you even fucking talk like that? You don't even have kids. You don't fucking know. Like
when they go into the groomers, they're all okay groomer.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, if you're so worried about somebody having such a profound influence on your children, maybe you should be more worried about how much influence you have on your fucking children.
Yeah.
Fill
that role and nobody else will do it for you.
Like my parents, they gave me a moral compass. I grew up in a household where I was taught not to be an asshole.
Yeah.
I knew what was okay and what was not okay in my household, and they were people that I could communicate with. Like, hey, I feel this way. This makes me feel this way when this happens. It got better as I got older. There was some times where they were definitely my parents and not my friends. But like as I matured, our relationship matured, and I had the ability to talk to my parents candidly about a lot of things. And so I knew how they felt about those sorts of things. The funny thing is that they probably feel very different about it now than when they were teaching me whatever they taught me when I was a teenager.
Oh, for sure.
But the thing is that I had, my parents didn't worry about what I was learning from the outside world because they knew what was important to me. It was the standards and the values of our household.
Yeah.
And so, if I had kids, I would tell them, hey, you're going through school. There's a whole lot of emphasis on this. Let's talk about it. And I'll tell you how I feel. I want to hear how you feel. I witnessed something really cool 2015 or so. I'd been out of the military for 2 years. The girl I was with when I finished up my enlistment moved back to Texas with me. That didn't work out. She moved back to her home state. I was looking for a place, and my niece was actually staying at my parents' house at the time. And my parents were there was a 2-generation gap there. The generational gap between a parent and a child, a regular amount of years apart, is a big one. Then you take in my parents, who are old to be our parents. My parents had all of us kids later than most people do, and then they're helping raise a granddaughter living in their house. I moved in for a few months and was kind of the go-between. And I noticed like that, just the generational gap between a parent to a child is huge.
Oh yeah.
And I think that when you're in a situation like that with a kid, you have to understand, not only am I going to tell you the way it is in my household and the way that I grew up in this, but you also have to freaking listen, because the things that the life they're living is not the same life that we lived as when we were their age. The world's different, and so you have to not only say hey, this is the way it is in our household, and this is the standards and principles and morals that we live by, but tell me what's going on in your world. Let's talk about how those two realms relate, where they overlap and where they don't. And I think a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people don't realize just how different the world is that their kids are growing up in and the one that we grew up in. I love it when I start talking about parenting
Yeah.
because I'm not one. But
you don't biologically have to be one. Sorry, you don't biologically have to be one to understand how to be one. Like, and I mean,
I think I would make a good one.
I live that because I mean, my wife's not my kid's mom, but she's the most mom my kids have ever had.
Yeah.
And that's just a name on a birth certificate.
Yeah.
So, and I'll probably have women that are pissed off. She carried, blah, 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 whatever. Get over that. You still have, like, you have to take care of the kid. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be a parent, not just a mother or whatever the birth certificate says. You have to be a parent. You have to raise them. Going way off the rails. Yeah.
Yeah, we were worried if we...
feelings and shit. I'll start trashing an ex-wife and all that, and libel lawsuit, whatever.
Yeah. Dude, my ex-wife still uses my last name. It drives me nuts, dude. Drives me nuts. Like, she came up with a Facebook memory, and it still said first name Smith in blue letters. I'm like, this bitch is still using my last name? Like, come on. And like, my last name is Smith. It's nothing cool. It's the most common.
It's so common.
It's the most common surname in the American continent. Both of them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That drives me nuts. We're not bashing ex-wives here.
Mine does too. I'm gonna bleep this out, but I'll show you how I saved my ex-wife, my kid's mom, in my cell phone.
That should be good.
You know what that stands for?
No, but I'm dying to know.
It stands for deadbeat mom.
Deadbeat mom.
Yeah. But hey, that
When
$80 a month of child support for 3 kids really helps out. When my daughter's $1,800 dance studio stuff, and
$80, huh? That's fucking absurd.
Yeah.
I know dudes.
You flip rolls and it's not $80. Just
Man, the way that dads get hosed in that system just blows my fucking mind. Dude.
I could do 2 hours on that.
It blows my freaking mind. And that, like, now, don't get me wrong. There's some great, amazing single mothers out there that are just doing it right.
Killing it.
Just absolutely killing it. But I know some single dads who are penniless. The better parent, they're penniless, getting asked for more money, and having to beg to see their kids.
Yeah.
And you're just like, how could the entire system, every judge, every advocate, let it be this absurdly one-sided? There are absolutely men who have no business seeing their kids. I know a few of them. I've called a few of them friend before and don't any longer because that's the case.
There are women out there.
And there are women just the same. There are women who like they get their nails done every time the child support hits, and you're just like, get the fuck out of here, dude. It drives me nuts. I don't know. That's one of the blessings of being a non-parent. I never had to deal with it.
Try to be a good parent.
I couldn't imagine busting my freaking ass the way that I do at work, sending all that money away, and then having to argue with somebody to get the time that the court says I'm supposed to have to my kids. And then when I don't get it,
paying rent to see your kid.
Yeah, and then when I don't get it, going to the judge and saying, "Hey, this isn't fair. I'm doing my part. I'm not getting my time." And basically telling you, "Oh, tough shit." That's what happens every single time. And it's men are partly to blame because there's so many asshole deadbeat dads out there.
Deadbeats out there.
And I guess that I don't know, in the eyes of the court, maybe they're a more evil, more dangerous situation for a kid to be around. But God, it screws the rest of the good dads out there trying to do it right. Like relationships, especially in this day and age with social media, are hard. There's going to be a lot more single parent households than there's ever been. The long-term relationship is I think is dying in certain aspects, and I think it's really hard on kids. But oh, dude, we got to figure out a way to take care of the good dads out there better than they are, because they're getting hosed. They're getting hosed a lot of the time. I mean, I know men like you are like, I don't even give a shit about the fucking child support. Kids are with me. Like,
I joke about it. I mean, I'm not angry. I'm bitter every once in a while.
But you got your kids in your house.
But it's about them, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's fine. If that's my consequence.
Yeah.
My only consequence I have out of everything.
And that's the thing. Men like you and me were like, okay, we brought these kids in this world. I'm gonna figure out how to make it work. Like I watched you work, however many jobs and go to school at the same time and figure out how to provide this nice home for your kids, and not only did you work all these jobs and go to school, like you were at every event, you did all this stuff, and I don't know, I'm glad that the majority of my friends who are dads from a split household are doing it right. I think
the stigma is gone. Like, it's totally unfair.
Yeah.
And if you were to put any stigma on anyone based on race or gender or anything, like in any other situation, I think that's a bad one.
Yeah.
But one way that I like to be a good dad is to spend time with my kids, even though they're older. And Memorial Day weekend, we went up to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and took the family to see the Savannah Bananas.
Sweet.
I've been following these guys on like TikTok and watching YouTube videos. When the boys were younger, we found out we could pick minor league baseball teams. So I picked the Savannah Sand Gnats because they had a badass logo. They were
I had the
maroon
hat.
And Kelly green like colors.
Yeah.
It was cool. And then I saw the Savannah Bananas pop up, and I was like, oh, did they change the minor league team? And kind of looked, it's like, no, it's like a different team. It's this exhibition team. For those of you who don't know, they're like kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. A lot more modernized, I think. And so, like, I don't know, like when they're warming up and, if there's a good situation, you'll see someone like right as they're catching a ball, they'll catch it into a backflip. Or, they've got gimmicky stuff like a guy who plays first base and bats on stilts. What else was there? There's a guy that always catches it between his legs, and it's fun game stuff. And then
they've got that one pitcher that dresses up like a rodeo clown, basically.
Yeah,
like,
he's got the freaking barrel and everything out there. Like,
the umpires get into it. When they call somebody out on a called third strike, they do a little dance and shit like that. It's cool.
Yeah, and the umpire actually, he went viral way before this thing. He was a little league umpire who was doing like the stanky leg and dancing out like in a youth baseball game.
That's how they found him?
Yeah, that's how they found him.
That's awesome.
He was this like internet, sensation, little viral video kind of guy.
Doing the stanky leg on a
it's
call third
cool.
strike. That's dirty.
He's built like me. Actually, kind of looks like me. Bald beard, pot belly and all that. Just this funny, outgoing guy. I think he's kind of what made the team a little bit more popular. It's not just the antics, but just that the umpires are part of the game too, and it's just all fun.
The rules are what's cool. So like,
I love it.
So like, there's no walks. If there's a called ball 4, then the player can run safely until everybody on the field touches the ball.
Yeah, so they've got to toss it around, and since the pitcher and catcher already did it, it's the other seven players. Yeah, so it's like they throw it around the horn in the infield, waiting for the outfielders to run in and touch the dirt, and so almost every single time that there's a ball 4, it's like a double.
Yeah,
it's
like a double.
It's a second base.
Now, in my baseball career, I was known for stretching doubles into singles. So I probably would have been stuck on first base anyways. Probably would have still taken my leisurely stroll.
Like, I hit it over the fence and still got thrown out at first base. No respect.
So, no, but there's that. If a fan catches a foul ball, it's an out.
Yeah,
that's badass.
The scoring is cool.
The runs only count per inning. You win innings, right?
Yeah. So let's say, the Bananas always play their team they bring with them called the Party Animals. So let's say in the first inning the Bananas score 8 runs and the Party Animals score 3. It's not a 5-run gap. It's the Bananas win that inning, and so they get 1 point.
Yeah.
And so innings 1 through 8 are like that. and then in the 9th inning they actually count the runs. Now, what's interesting and what speeds their game up and makes it kind of cool is if you're the home team and the visiting team doesn't score any runs at the top of the inning, and you come out and double run comes in, the inning's over because you won that inning. So it speeds the game up in a lot of different aspects, which it's not pure baseball, but
not
it's
at all.
fun and it's moving and it's kind of like the difference in going and watching. Sorry for you collegiate wrestling fans. Going and watching a collegiate wrestling show and WWE.
Yeah.
Like collegiate wrestling's two sweaty guys. Why did he get a point for that? What's going on here?
And a unitard.
Yeah, or the other, he just hit him upside the head with a fucking chair and he slammed it through a table. Guess what I'm watching? I know it's not as real, but it's a whole hell of a lot more entertaining.
Dude, maybe a topic for another show, but how bad they've dumbed down the WWE. I quit watching wrestling regularly years ago, but every now and then you hear about it.
It's just like watered down now. Like there's like.
But there's no intentional blood anymore.
No, they did that for. Dude, it's that John Cena stuff. So John Cena is like the #1 all-time Make-A-Wish guy. Like he's he's beat out Hulk Hogan and Michael Jordan combined.
Yeah, that was the Shane Gillis Special Olympics thing.
Yeah, if John Cena's
that fucker's that's the angel of death for you guys. You're gonna have to get way worse.
But he.
Okay, for anybody who missed that, go to YouTube, type in Shane Gillis Special Olympics. The stand-up comedian, he does a bit on the Special Olympics. It's tasteful and it's funny as hell. So yeah, go check that out.
Yeah, it's great. But it's John Cena, and the difference is like you have the internet, they call them the Internet Wrestling Committee, the IWC, hate all of this stuff. But the difference is they don't go to the shows because they're living in their mom's basement. And, just stupid shit like that. Or they do go to shows and, may get a T-shirt and all that. But little Junior, when he goes to that fucking show, he gets a John Cena hat, the John Cena wristbands, the new John Cena shirt. He's got the poster. He's got the John Cena lunchbox. That's their target audience. That's who's making their money. That's why they've gotten rid of the blood and kind of dumbed it down. Now, back in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, they had the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
That was targeted toward people our age.
Undertaker, Mankind, Triple H.
But it was men, and I say our age, it was like men like 14 to 40, were all into this stuff. And so then all of a sudden, you've got the female wrestlers now, and they're taking them more serious. You don't have the bra and panties matches and, the lingerie pillow fights. Like, these women are going out, and they're having fucking amazing matches.
Dude, you remember China? Just absolutely beating the ever-living shit out of full-grown dudes.
Yeah.
That was... I think she paved the way for a lot of that. That was pretty cool.
Well, yeah, and not just to be like a smoke show, but to actually come out and be talented.
Because God knows she was not a smoke show.
And don't get me wrong, there are some of the women who are absolute smoke shows and amazing talents. Like some of they get in there and they perform better than the men do a lot of the time. And so it's changed with that. So they're not targeting just the boy crowd. Now, how do we get little Susie? How do we get her in? How do we get her to want to be the next Bailey or the next Sasha Banks or who? I'm just naming female wrestlers.
I thought you were naming porn stars for a second. I was like, no. Sasha Banks, I think I've seen her.
But so it's like, how do we get, little Susie to want to do this? And so it's like, you need the merchandise and you need this and you need a product that, doesn't have all the blood. Man, we go on a fucking tangent on every one of these. But,
yeah, we were talking about Savannah Bananas. My bad.
Oh, shit. That's how I live my life, man. So
go on the roller coaster ride with Bill and Bear.
So, you know what else kids have today that's kind of cool? So the bananas are new, but I was like, oh, they finally have something like that. Last summer, I went up to Tulsa with my family, my little sister, her husband, and their 2 kids live up there. Mm-hmm. And I went with my brother-in-law and my 2 nephews, and we saw Dude Perfect. Have you ever seen this guy online?
Yeah.
They have fucking live shows.
How do they do the live shows?
Like they just come out and it's contests. It'll be like 4 of them, and each round someone gets eliminated. But it's like you know, you go through the obstacle course and they're throwing footballs through basketball hoops and like just doing all of this like cool stuff.
But I thought they were busted for like the majority of their fucking videos being green screen type stuff. Like
no, like it was just this cool show. It's such a following. Like
so they're trick shot guys, right?
yeah, just
Yeah,
trick
and-
shot stuff. But like a lot of like they started at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
like going off the stadium.
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure they have some stuff that's dubbed over. But kids eat this shit up.
Sure.
And they pay to go to these shows. It's not real competition. It's not real
Yeah.
anything. But it's so fucking entertaining and like loud music and
Yeah.
like flames and shit like that.
Well,
That's your Harlem Globetrotters and your Savannah Bananas and
Yeah.
your WWE and all that. Like
Sports entertainment.
And I think I'm glad you said that. I wouldn't call Savannah Banana. Well, you know what? They do keep score.
Yeah.
And like the game that we went to, the Party Animals actually won. So
Yeah.
like the good guys didn't win. I don't know if they stage it that way or if it's really a competition. But that's the only thing that would keep me calling it that's a sport. Well, and you know what? I'll call wrestling's a sport. They're athletes. I know it's not
Yeah.
a competition. It's a show. But if we want to call it cheer and dance and stuff like that a sport,
It's like reality sports or something like that, you know?
yeah, but it's sports entertainment
Yeah.
or fucking NASCAR, driving circles. I'm a sick fucking driver. What speed do I have to hit to be a pro athlete? No,
dude,
I don't want to piss off the NASCAR fans. Sorry,
Yeah,
guys.
you don't want to go there, man. They're loyal and
Yeah, R.I.P. Dale Earnhardt. That's what happens when a driver tries to make a right. All right, sorry. I just lost.
You can't talk about the king that way.
I just lost 2 of our crowd.
Well, we've only got 7, so
know.
chill out, dude.
Hey, we did hit 50 downloads.
What?
Like 50 people. Or,
Dude.
I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy.
I'll have to start wearing disguises.
No shit. I know, we're going to make dozens of dollars.
Yeah.
I had another thing. Oh, the game pick. So I sent you this. Rosie and I took a picture. We're sitting in the
Yes.
stands, and I'll pop it up here on the screen for the people who are watching on YouTube. And hell, we don't have an Instagram. I'll put it on the. I'll twat about it, and
What about it?
I don't know. Put something on. What is that? TikTok. I'll put some. Yeah, but so Rosie and I took just a nice picture. I didn't think anything of it. You know, I was looking at the fucking screen while we're taking the picture. We smile, and then Rosie shows me.
Let's just say epic husband fail.
Yeah. So there's a woman sitting behind us, and I don't like being ugly about anything, but she didn't go with our picture very well. I almost needed to like look around and check for bees.
Ooh. Okay.
Make sure there's no swelling or anything going on. That's so ugly. But that's like when I look at this picture, that's all we can fucking see. And then
It's a train wreck, man. You can't look away.
it is like and it's one of those unfortunate things. This poor woman, I have a feeling she's very, very nice, and I don't want to judge her person based on this picture.
It's so hard though.
I know, but yeah, it's gold for us. But why can I not find it? Oh, and I showed you this. So Rosie, my wife, uses and I'll put this on the screen too. She'll get mad at me, but it would be the first time or the last. Oh, and someone reacted to my Facebook stuff. All right, so Rosie tried to use one of those AI things to do, I'm guessing like a cartoon version of her face, and she used that picture because it's a really good picture of her. And just up in the corner, it's that woman's face, and so it ended up catching that face and cartooning hers instead of my wife's, which is like so far in the foreground of this picture. I don't know how it completely ignored her, but oh yeah, it's bad. But yeah, I'll stop being ugly to people I don't know and all that. If you ever get a chance, oh, and to get tickets to the Savannah Bananas. So I have such a hard time saying that. I feel drunk every single time I try.
Savannah Bananas.
Savannah Bananas. What was cool, or not cool, what sucked, it's fucking hard to get tickets.
Yeah.
Like, we were on this waiting list for almost a year of emails and blah, blah, blah. And so Rosie got an email of, hey, you're slotted for this time. This is when you're going to be allowed
to buy a ticket.
To log in and attempt to buy tickets.
Oh, shit.
And so, we ended up getting tickets. Huge fucking crowd. And it's general admission. Like they have VIP and then they have general admission. VIP, I'm not fucking paying that kind of money for that. If I like it enough for general, then maybe, you go back. But yeah, and so, like, everyone's crowded at the gate, then they just open it and you fucking go in.
Nice.
And find a seat. She ended up getting tickets, but she also made the lottery for a second sale. So we had to go up to Tulsa, which is cool. My sister lives there. Our next one would have been Vegas, to try to get tickets in Vegas. And
that would be fun.
Her dad lives there, so that would have been a cool trip too. I think we paid like $28 a ticket. Which
That's not bad.
Not too bad for that. People were scalping it because they're so fucking sold out. Mm-hmm. My sisters, they were given their tickets by someone else who had like a business account, got 8. And we were only allowed to buy 4. That's the most you can get. People were selling the fucking tickets for $500 a pair.
Get the
online.
fuck out of here. Wow.
Because
it's like Matt Rife tickets.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That dude's funny as shit. Like,
he is
I think
funny.
He's hilarious.
And I saw something cool the other day. It was on his Facebook page, and he gets up and he's like, "Hey, listen." He's like, "Tickets to my show are like $30." He's like, "If you don't get them, don't go pay $900 to a reseller." Yeah. And that's what they're going for. I was dating somebody a few months back, and we liked going to stand-up comedy. And he was coming to San Antonio. That's down by where I live, and that's where we would go. And I missed the ticket sale on the day it opened up, and of course it went out. And I was like, oh, let me check StubHub and stuff, and it was like $900 for a table for 2, and I was like, oh yeah. So anyways, he gets on there and he's like, hey, listen, he's like, this tour's been wildly successful. We're selling out every night. He's like, I don't want anybody to pay $400 to come see me. Yeah. Don't do it. He's like, I'll come back. He goes, I'll come back. He goes, and I will keep coming back until I know that everybody who wants to see me for $30 has seen me for $30. I was like, that's pretty badass, dude.
Yeah, he's a pretty classy guy. And the dude gets a bunch of hate from men.
Probably ugly men, because the dude looks like a fucking Ken doll.
He's a smoke show for women, like good looking guy. Now he made that Wild and Out money and got his teeth fixed. Yeah. But dude's hilarious. Like, and the way he interacts with the crowd and all that. Like, if you're an introvert, don't want to be pointed out. Yeah. Go ahead and sell me your tickets in Austin for $30, please.
Yeah,
you're gonna hate the fucking show.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the way he calls people out and just rolls with stuff, like the shit that comes out of his mouth.
He breaks a barrier too. There's a barrier he breaks because you'll hear if you listen to his stuff, you'll understand all his friends are black. He was on Wild and Out. Yeah. He grew up in a trailer park in Ohio, and all of his friends were black. That's just the culture he identifies with. And it's cool seeing somebody who relates so well to the black community being able to do very well with them. There's tons of black people at his shows, and they love his shit. They eat it up just the same way that 40-year-old white women do, So, like, he's crossed some lines of demographic lines that other comedians just don't cross.
Yeah, I would say, like, if you don't know who he is, I think he's a less douchey and probably more risky Daniel Tosh.
Ooh, Daniel Tosh is pretty fucking risky.
Kind of on that, yeah, but his is more douchey though. And don't get me wrong, I fucking love it. Daniel Tosh is great, but like the character that he portrays as a comedian, he's just an ultimate douchebag. Yeah. Where Matt Rife is like, he's He's like quick. Like
Yeah, he's quick, and like his crowd work is spot on, and,
Yeah.
and he doesn't miss a beat on it either. Like there's one where he's talking about how he likes entertaining black people, and he hears a typical black laugh, and he's like, I guarantee you that laugh was from a black guy, and he starts laughing. He's like, yeah, the whole crowd laughs, and I was like, what's your name, dude? Oh, I'm whatever, and he's like, well, welcome to the show. He's like, who you here with? And he goes,
I saw that.
and he goes, I have never in my life been more certain somebody's on a date with a side chick.
He's great. Like, and I love shit like that. That like people that are that quick. I could write a fucking script and not be able to stay on script. And this dude is just picking at people. He's like, oh, that guy's got fucked up teeth. Let's make fun of that. Let's talk about that for 30 minutes. And he'll just fucking go off like. And make you laugh your ass off, and none of it is like structured comedy.
It's not all like making fun of people either. Like when he does crowd work, he finds things to laugh with people about too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
like,
and like if you're missing a fucking front tooth and you're out there smiling, missing your front tooth, he knows. Well, this guy's obviously not sensitive about it because he's not growing a mustache down to his fucking chin, and he's not covering up it. So. It's like it's less vulnerable and it's just fucking accessible. Dude's laughing and putting that fucking gap out there. I'm gonna make fun of gap tooth. Yeah. And so like, and I think that's where he's smart. That's where it's a little bit different. It's not even like shameful or not picking on people. It's just fucking like.
Oh, I've seen comedians do crowd work where you're like, God damn, dude, are you trying to run everybody? Make sure nobody comes to your show.
It's not just funny. It's uncomfortable because I'm fucking sitting beside him where. If you're talking about dude here and he's laughing his ass off, I'm gonna laugh with him. I don't care if it's fucking gap tooth or you're making fun of him because it's a black dude with an Asian girlfriend. Like as long as the people are comfortable there, like everything's cool. And he knows how to fucking read a room, dude. Guess how long we've been going on this one?
How long? Hour and 15.
Hour 47.
We should probably. Wrap it up like a birthday present.
Y'all are probably tired of us right now.
Yeah.
I know on this episode.
We were thinking that we weren't going to have enough material for a full hour.
I know. Like I was like, so it's going to be 30 to 40 minutes, and it definitely went a lot longer than that.
I blame Bill.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's my fault.
He's married. He's used to that sort of thing.
Yeah. And it's not that bad, baby. I know you listen to my stuff, and I know that you don't treat me that way, and I know that you love me, and you treat me fair, and that we're 100% equals in everything that we do, and I love you till death do us part.
She's in the other room, and she just hit his shot collar.
Yeah. You don't want to know where my shot collar is located. It just gives me a little ting to warn me at first.
And he likes it sometimes, actually.
I do. I put it in different places. All right. On that note, thank you for watching. This is episode
6? 3? No, 5. Episode 5. Yeah.
Episode 5. So, yeah, that's a fucking streak.
Yeah, hey, there we go.
So, we're doing well. I hope we're doing well.
I think...
Let us know. Talk to us.
Yeah, let us know. I think with my new changes in my schedule and stuff like that, I think we got to figure it out. We'll probably do this every other week when I'm up this way, and
maybe not have, I don't know, like if we could plan this better, not have fucking dogs barking in the background and people walking through the front door and all that. But
we'll get more professional as we deem fit.
I wouldn't say professional. I'd say we would be more accommodating.
Polished.
Yeah, a little more polished, but not professional. I'm sorry.
I'm Barrett. It's been fun hanging out with you guys. We'll catch you next time.
Whatever. Later, fuckers.
Later, cow fuckers.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running.